Today I wanted to go through and show you some of my favorite brushes that I've been using for a very long time, and some of them are newer, some of them you probably can't even get anymore because I've been using them for so long, but I just wanted to go through and show you, like, in the different categories what my favorite brushes are, like powder brushes, my blending brushes, bronzer brushes, etc. I do have two brushes here that I enjoy using if I'm going to apply my foundation with a brush. This first one, this is from e.l.f. I think this is their Flawless foundation brush or their buffing brush. I'll find the name and I'll put it down at the bottom right here, but this is a really nice brush. It's very smooth and they are synthetic bristles. This other one is very similar to the e.l.f. one. This one here, this is the buffing brush from Real Techniques. This one, the pattern on this one is a little bit different because this came in a set. It's called the Berlin set. It has about 1, 2, 3, 4. All these other brushes here came in this set, and I really like all the brushes that come in the set, but I'm not sure if it's still available. If it is, I'll try and find it and put the link down below. But these two I really like applying my cream or liquid foundation with. My powder brushes, big, like fluffy powder brushes, are a little bit different. It's weird because I'll use one for a couple weeks, I'll really enjoy it, and then I'll switch over to another one and I'll use that one for a couple weeks. So I kind of just go back and forth between all of them. So the first one, this is a very inexpensive brush. This is the Icing Expert Contoured Powder Brush. And even though it looks super floppy on the top, it's actually not too bad. I mean, it is floppy, but you can apply powder, you can do your bronzer or blush with this product. So it's big, but I don't think that it's too big. If you tap on it, the bristles don't like wobble up and down like that. It actually has a little bit of substance here to apply the powders. I think out of all of these, this is definitely one that I would recommend. This one is the Real Techniques powder brush. This one's very large. You can see the size difference between these two. It has a much larger dome on the top. Some of these need to be washed, just so you know, but it's very large, but I really like using this to like blend over after I've applied blush or bronzer, whatever. I can go back over the area and swirl around and buff it out so it looks smooth and blended, but you can also apply your powder to your face with this product too. So this is a really nice one. I think this is around $10. This is another one from Real Techniques. This came in a set. I think I found it at TJ Maxx or something, but this is the Real Techniques multitasker brush, and you could use this for other things like a very light blush right through here, or bronzer, also powder. I feel like it's small enough that you could use it for other things, but it's also large enough to be used for powder because it'll set pretty easily. Then I have this one. This one, it's a very specific kind of brush. It's very wobbly. If you tap on this one, the bristles do like flop up and down. This one is from Terra Mare, and it is falling apart a bit here. The ferrule needs to be glued back down, but I like this for applying powder if I'm doing a very light dusting because it is that super flimsy, wobbly kind of bristle. And this one was sent to me like 2 or 3 years ago in a big set, and this is one of the few that I still have around, but it definitely needs to be glued back together. I think they often show up on Haute Look because if you purchase them outright, they're insanely expensive, overly expensive in my opinion, especially because a couple of the brushes have had to be glued back together. And then the last like larger powder brush that I have here is the e.l.f. complexion brush. This is the one that's kind of curved and domed at the top, but I use this one for years, solely use this one for years to apply my powder. You can watch these a million times. They're $3 at the store. So these are all really great choices as far as like a big fluffy powder brush. I do have a couple other powder brushes I'm going to talk about here. Now these brushes, these are when I'm using a powder foundation and I want a lot of coverage in certain areas. So first up I have my e.l.f. Kabuki brush. This one definitely needs to be washed. I pulled it out of my dirty brush thing, but this is a really nice brush. It's held together great. I've washed it a gazillion times, and I even use this today to buff my powder foundation on the skin. Something very similar is my Makeup Forever Kabuki brush here. So they're quite similar. The Makeup Forever one has a taller base. The e.l.f. one is a little bit shorter, but they actually are pretty comparable, honestly. If you can see there, they're quite similar. I like both of these. I don't like one over the other one. If one's dirty, then I'll reach for the other one, that kind of a thing. And then the last one that's very inexpensive is also one from e.l.f. This is actually cheaper than the $6 Kabuki brush. This is the flat topped e.l.f. powder brush, and this thing has the flat end, but it's also circular. I feel like this is a flattened Kabuki brush almost. I really like it for powder and for pressing the powder on. You can blend the powder around, but you can also get the edge of it and go into contour with this brush. I really like this one too. I've been using this one for years as well. So there's a couple of my powder brushes. I have a few here for under the eye area and possibly blending out concealer. So I have two, I didn't mean to grab both of them, but I have two of the e.l.f. What do they call this? Flawless concealer brush. I actually put some gold flaky nail polish glitter on the tips of mine, but I just think it looks kind of nice. But this is really nice for getting concealer up underneath here and buffing it out, because they are kind of domed on the ends. You can see when you wash them, they kind of depending on how they lay flat to dry, they can alter the shape just a little bit, but these are really great. I used these solely for a couple months, and then I'd kind of go back and forth between other ones. Another one that's kind of similar, this one's from It Cosmetics. This came in a set. The set was like 50 bucks. I would suggest if you're going after a brush similar to this, just stick with the one from e.l.f. But this one is their Airbrush Concealer Brush right here. You can see this one is also synthetic. I mean, it's nice, it's soft. I think this is just a touch softer than the e.l.f. ones, but honestly, there's not much of a difference in the size on these two brushes, so it kind of is just a matter of what you're looking for. These are obviously way more expensive than the $3 e.l.f. ones. In the same vein, for setting underneath the eye area or for brightening underneath the eye area, I have two. I have one from Real Techniques. This is their angled highlighter brush, and it's kind of like their setting brushes, but it's a little bit different. It has this slight angle right here that angles up, and I really like how it just fits right at the inner corner of your eye. Obviously, you could also use it for like your highlighter here, but I definitely prefer it underneath the eye area. And then the other one for underneath the eye would be this one here from e.l.f. This one also doesn't have a name on it. I think it's like their pointed foundation brush, but it's a little bit more stiff. It does come up to a nice tapered end, and this one also fits really nice underneath the eye. And I kind of roll this one, I press it and roll it. It kind of depends on how you want to apply the powder underneath the eye, but there were these two. Then I have some bronzer brushes, and there's a ton here. So the first one, I kind of multitask this one. This is the Real Techniques blush brush. You can use this as a brush to apply your blush, but I prefer to use this one if I need to put a little bit of bronzer or powder down on my neck here to blend the two, my neck and my face together. I'll use this one to do that. If you're not looking for a too precise or chiseled out contour look, you can use this brush to go kind of blow out the bronzer area here and also up along the temples. It's large enough to where it's really easy to just apply it very quickly and it's blended out, so that one's really good one. Another one of the Real Techniques brushes that came in that Berlin set, this one is their stippling brush. You could use this to apply foundation, but I prefer these types of brushes. I have two here to go in for like your contour or the bronzer region, and just because they have that flat edge, it's kind of easy to put the bottom of your bronzer where you want it or your contour where you want it. So I have this one here from Sonia Kashuk. I think she just completely discontinued all of her old brushes and she's coming out with new ones. So this one's probably not available anymore, but it is a relatively inexpensive line of brushes at Target. If you're in the market for some really great quality brushes, Sonia Kashuk does have quite a few nice ones. And then, like I said, the stippling brush from Real Techniques is very nice. I also have a couple more rounded or domed versions. I have this one here from e.l.f. This is the foundation blurring brush, and even though this is supposed to be used to apply your foundation, I feel like it gets into I feel like it gets into this region here easier, so it's a little bit smaller of a domed, it's like a mini Kabuki brush essentially, so there's that one. You could use it for other things. I was using this one specifically for, I don't know, over a year. Ever since I got this brush, I've been using this for my bronzer. This one is the Real Techniques contour brush, and like I said, this came out of that Berlin Picks set, but I really like the way that it just fit that region right there for me, and it's not too big, it's not too small, it's the perfect size. Initially I was actually using the Sonia Kashuk brush previous to getting this one. You can see the size difference on the ends here. That way they're about the same, but if I twist this one, it's a little bit thinner. So it is wider here and it's a little bit thinner through here, but it is a natural bristle brush, so it does pick up a little bit more product than a synthetic version. But this one, I could just get right into this region and buff it up, and I feel like I did a very nice job. I haven't touched this one since I had this one though, so I definitely need to reach for my Sonia Kashuk one a little bit more. A new one that just showed up and I'm very surprised about. I really didn't have very high expectations for this one either, but it's actually replaced the Real Techniques brush here. This one is the Koki number 620, Koki Professional 620. I do believe that Koki is available at Walmart. It's quite inexpensive. I was very surprised, but this came in a little duo. It's like a duo brush set. It came with this brush here, the Koki 622, and I have thoughts on this one. I'll talk about that in a second, but this one is great. I used this one today. Perfect amount of blendability. It's very soft. It's a little bit less dense than the Real Techniques one. I feel like it does an easier job blending. It makes the job a little bit quicker for me, I guess I should say. So these three have been my favorite bronzer brushes for the past little while now, but this one is the new one and it's definitely taking the cake. I really only have one blush brush. This one's been kicking around for, I would say, at least 5 years now, but this is my MAC 129 blush brush. I think this is technically a powder brush, but I've used this one for so long and I've used it so much that it's really starting to wear down, but it's like the perfect shape. I do put like a deep conditioner on my brushes after I wash them if they're natural bristle like this one, because it's been around for a while. They actually don't even make this one anymore, but it just fits my cheek perfectly. I don't quite have a brush like this because it'll taper in and it's got this really nice tapered end and curve to the brush. I really enjoy it. Depending on how it sits in my brush bag, my makeup bag, it'll kind of get a little wonky edge to it, but I really like the design of this brush. I like the tapered shape of it. It just fits my cheeks perfectly, and I only have this one type of brush for my highlighter, so I really like to put my highlighter down and then kind of fan over it really quickly. So I have two of the Real Techniques setting brushes, and like I said, I'll just dip into some highlight and then I'll put it down on the area, and then I do a little like sweeping fan motion like this, and it just blurs out the highlight. It looks really beautiful. These are the only highlighting brushes that I have in my collection. Moving on to some eye brushes now. I use these two brushes after I put my MAC Painterly Paint Pot or a primer on my eye. I usually go in with just a cream colored shadow, very light cream colored shadow that matches my skin tone, and I'll just run it all over the lid. And I have these two brushes here. They're actually the same kind of brush, even though they look entirely different. This one came out of that Berlin Picks set. This is the Deluxe Crease brush from Real Techniques, as well as this one is too. So they're just kind of like a rounded, domed brush. Maybe you can see against my hair there. They're very soft, they're synthetic, and they're very easy to just put down that base color so other shadows will blend easily over the top. So I really like that brush. If you see any sets from Real Techniques with that one in it. This is a little duo that's available from Real Techniques. I did get this one through the Octoly website because I thought they looked so cool, and I did see Emily Noel 83 do a review on them and she really enjoyed them, so I thought, hey, these have got to be good. This is actually the Real Techniques Instapop eyeshadow duo here. So you have the Instapop crease brush, which is this little teeny one here, and then you have the Instapop shade brush. So it's a little bit larger. It's kind of like the brushes that I use to put the shadow all over the lid to set the primer, but these, instead of being rounded all the way, so they're rounded on this side, and then if you turn them to the side, they have this slight angle that goes up, and then this side is just straight. They're very, very unique. I think Real Techniques does a great job of putting out brushes that you'll need for anything, but very unique takes on them. Like these ones, they're very easy to put shadow all over the lid. You can kind of turn it to the side, and then you can buff and blend it out that way. With this little teeny one, you can either use it to place the shadow onto the lid and pack it down onto the lid, or you can kind of angle it and just hit right into the crease, and you can really buff out the crease if you want the crease darkened. This is a great set, and I think these two together is only like $9.99 or something from Target or Walmart. I do have a few brushes here that I like to put shadow down onto the lid. I have two here that are a little bit fluffier from Real Techniques. Even though they look different, it's like I said, this one is from that Berlin set, but it's the same exact thing. This is the base shadow brush from Real Techniques. More pinched, flattened version, but they're still a little bit round and fluffy. So these are great for putting the shadow down, and then you can kind of twist it and blend out the crease area. So you could use this for your lid shade and your crease shade. It actually works really well with just those brushes. I have this one that's a little bit less fluffy. It's more of a packer brush. If I want a really intense color on the lid, I'll reach for this one. This is my MAC 213 brush. This one is actually a natural bristle brush here. So this one's great for applying shadow all over the lid. It's very even, it's very smooth. I also have some that are more flattened synthetic version. So I have this one here. The ones from Urban Decay palettes that are double-sided, if you use this flattened side here, if you have a really bright shadow that you want to use with Fix Plus or use wet to apply it, these do a really great job, and you can get really precise at getting right along the crease. I also had this one here from Sonia Kashuk. Like I said, I don't think that she has these brushes out anymore, unfortunately, but I do enjoy that one. This one is actually a concealer brush, but I do use it if I'm putting a shade on the lid. This is my MAC 195 concealer brush. This one is synthetic. It's got like that plasticky kind of bristle to it, but I can use this underneath the eye for concealer, or I can actually use it to get a really nice precise application onto the lid. If I'm using glitter, I like to use something that's super flat like this, and it doesn't stick to the brushes as much if they're synthetic. This is the one that came in the set with that bronzer brush from Kabuki. I'm not sure. I think that this set is available as a duo. So you have the 620 brush that I talked about earlier, and then this is the 622 brush. I tried to use this today to put down my eyeshadow on my lid because it is that flattened synthetic version, but this one didn't work as well. So I would say if you're going to get this set, use this brush and spray it with like Fix Plus or something before you use the shadows, because I think you'll have 1,000 times better luck with this brush. If it is only available in the set, I think it's definitely worth it just for this one, and then just use this one if you're using shadows and pigments and stuff. Just some big fluffy blending brushes, I guess I should say. So this first one, I don't think it's available anymore, and I really hate doing this, but I love it. This is one that I constantly reach for. If I'm finished with my eye look and I really want to go over it one last time on the outside edge, I'll reach for this one. This is one from Sonia Kashuk. It is not available anymore, but I do think that she has something extremely similar to this in her line at the moment. I think she just revamped some of her other brushes, so you might be able to find something very, very, very similar to this. This one is a natural bristle brush, but it does have a really nice like domed shape to the end of it, and it doesn't taper too much. It stays pretty rounded, and it just blends. It's extremely soft too, so it's a very nice brush. I wish she would bring that back. Another one that I reach for if I'm putting in a transition shade and I just want something super smooth, super easy, is this one here from MAC. This is the 286. This is a dual fiber brush, so it has natural and synthetic bristles, but this one is perfection for getting that really nice smooth transition for me. I like this brush a lot. I hadn't used it for a while there, but I just pulled it out, I would say the past 30 days, and I have not been able to put this down. It's Very, very nice brush. This one here, this is the e.l.f. Crease brush, and like I said, I did put a gold flaky nail polish glitter on the tip of mine, but this is a really nice one. If you want something that's inexpensive, this is a $3 brush and it works very well. It gets right into the crease, blends it out very well. Another one that's a little bit more expensive, this one is from Real Techniques. It's the 203 from Real Techniques. This is very similar to the MAC 217. This one is synthetic. I really like this. After I wash it, it kept the shape really nice. It does have this squared off shape to it, so if you set it on the counter, it won't roll off. It's got a flat end, no matter how you put it down, and it's very weighted. This feels very nice in the hand, so you can hold it back here and just easily glide it into the crease area and blend things out. I really like how weighted this brush is. This is probably the most weighted brush out of my collection here for the eyes, so I'm very happy with this one. I think this is from their Bold Metals line. And since I was talking about the 217, I do have 3 of them here. Now one of them I've had for probably 8 years and it's been through the ringer. It's really been beaten up. This is the new 217, as you can see here. It's very nice, fluffy. It is a natural bristle brush. And then this is my one that I've had around for a very long time. I'll hold it up against this one that's not dirty. But you can see there, it's it's lost a little bit of length on the top. The bristles are a little bit more yellow. They're not as white and vibrant as the new one. This one I can actually get into the crease a little bit easier, like right at that outer crease section, just because it doesn't have as much oomph to the bristles. Like it's a slimmer version of this brush because I've used it so much and I've worn it down so much. I got this one not very long ago and I'm actually very impressed with this one. This is from Wet n Wild. I do believe this was only 99 cents and it does have this little dip right here so you can hold it. You can put your finger into that so you can blend it out. It does a really nice job. I think it's definitely worth the 99 cents. It was either 99 cents or $1.99, but I think it was 99 cents. And then some that are a little bit more precise for the crease work. I have this one here from e.l.f. This is the contour brush, and I did put a little bit of glitter on the tip of this one too, just so my brushes kind of stand out a little bit and not look all the same. It's a very tiny domed brush that gets right into that crease and you can deepen it up a little bit. Another one that's very similar, this one here is from It Cosmetics. This came out of a brush set from Ulta. This one is their airbrush Crease, and you can see between these two, this one's a little bit bigger than the e.l.f. one. They both do a pretty good job of getting a deeper color into that corner, so there were those two. Another one is the MAC 221. This one is dirty. I did use this today, so this is just a little bit smaller and allows you to get right into that outer corner. If I hold it up next to the 217, you can definitely see that the 221 over here, this one is a little bit longer and it's not as wide. It's a nice brush to blend out the crease and deepen up the crease and make it look really smooth. And the last brush that I have here for the crease work and for blending out in the outer corner is this MAC 275. This is the short handle, like limited edition one. It came out of a set during the holidays, but it's actually pretty nice. So it's got this same kind of angled taper to it. I like to put a shade down in the crease, and if you turn the brush, so I'll put it down like this and then I'll turn the brush like that and then I can blend it and it can blend out. Finally, I'll show you some of my random brushes, my miscellaneous brushes. These are for more like liner and brows. As far as like a pointed skinny eyeliner brush, I have this one here from MAC. This is the 210. This is very tiny, as you can see there, super teeny tiny, itty bitty, very tiny, very easy to get right at the inner corner of your eye though, for sure. And then next, I have this one here from Real Techniques. This one is their fine liner brush, and you can kind of compare the two. It's a little bit thicker than the one from MAC. The MAC one is just a little bit thinner. And then the last one that I have that's a very thin liner brush is actually this bent one. This is the angled eyeliner brush from e.l.f. I love these. You really have to go through all of the packages that they have out and make sure that the tip on the eyeliner brush is perfect. Otherwise, you're gonna have a wonky eyeliner. but if you go through the packs, you can definitely find some that are nice. This one's starting to splay out a little bit, so I probably need to get another one of those, but that angle just gives you the right, it just helps when you're doing your liner, especially when you're doing the opposite eye. A couple angled brushes here. I have this one from, this is another one of those Real Techniques Bold Metals ones. This is the one 202. The 202 brush, so it's very nice. It's very weighted. I like to use this one in the brows, like right here to stamp in the front. You can also use it for doing like your wing liner over here. One that's similar, I used to use this one all the time. It did a great job for many years, and then I kind of switched over to liquid liner, like a brush tipped liners. But if I'm using a gel liner, this one I still reach for it every now and again. This is from Eco Tools. It doesn't say what it is, but it's got the like angled end there, as you can see. It's really nice brush, but it's starting to splay out just a little bit, trying to fray out at the edges, but this one actually did a pretty decent job getting at that outer corner and keeping it crisp. Because this one started to splay out a little bit, I mostly just use this one for the brows, and I usually reach for the Real Techniques one just because it's a little bit, it's more compact and like a thinner line, I guess, with that one. And then the final three brushes, I have two that are flat. I have this one here from Ulta. This is the Ulta Professional Small Eye Shader. It's a very teeny tiny, about the size of my pinky, very tiny brush, but this one's nice to get underneath the bottom lash line. One that's kind of similar, this is one from e.l.f. This is just the $1 brush from e.l.f. This is their eyeliner brush, and I don't use this one for underneath the eye, going like this, even though you'd think that that would be a nice use for it. What I like to do is I'll put a little bit of pencil liner on the outer corner of my eye, and then I'll just take the brush and just pull it out, and it pulls it straight out. It makes it smooth, it blends that line out. You can also use it to tight line right at the, you know, underneath your lashes here, like the outer corner. Then the very final brush that I have here, this is the MAC 219. This is a pencil brush. I never in a million years thought I would drop over $5 on a little teeny, measly tiny pencil brush, but even though it's a very tiny brush, it comes in very handy, and it feels so nice to use this underneath the eye. Generally, I used to use just my ring finger and I would just smudge something underneath there, but this is really soft. You can really blow a shadow out very smoothly underneath the lash line with this brush. I really like it, and you can also use it, you get like double use out of it. You can hit it right into the outer corner, right at the deepest part of your crease. So anyway, those are some of my favorite brushes that I reach for the most often. Let me know if you guys use any of these brushes, or if you have any other ideas on what I could be using. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.